Welcome to another video from Dr. Lock. I saw this cylinder and I thought we might have a little look at it and talk about it. So this is Bird, B-I-R-D, stainless steel. And it's a cylinder you can buy fairly cheap. You'll see them around at some hardware stores. Just looking over it, you can see that it's actually cast brass. So that's where they make a mold. They pour the brass in hot and then they take it out and then they just machine a few surfaces. This one here is most likely cast as well, but you can tell by the difference, just the quality of it. There's a huge difference about how they're kind of made, the molds they're using, the techniques they're using, and the parts. So let's go over these. Okay, we've got a Lockwood New Age 201 cylinder. It's got the engraving on the front. We've got a Chinese Bird stainless steel cylinder. For a bit of reference, I thought I'd throw in a carbine rim cylinder as well. A nice polished brass one, so we don't want to scratch that up too much. Okay, and one more, just a Lockton 201 cylinder. Okay, so it's already dismantled, which makes it a little bit easier for me. Alright, so first straight off the bat, let's bring in the serious piece of Lego here and look at them. Okay, so the weight on this is about double. The amount of meat on that, if you can see that, double. The precision of the machining, the capping, the plugs on the top, easily double. Thickness on the faceplate, this is a solid, this is a piece of stainless steel wrapped around brass, so it's better. Comparing it to the carbine, these two are kind of in the league of their own. They're using full bodies, full meat, proper capping, thicker screws, better threads. These two I would call decent. I'd even call the Lockwood decent as well. It has used the cheaper method of manufacture where they put the faceplate around the front and crimp it in, but this is still very widely used and very well accepted as industry standard. That's industry standard. This is just better quality. If you were to do a restricted key system or something where you wanted a better quality, you would use this. Commercial, I would use this. If you're doing a back shed or something that you want a $2 lock on, you don't care if it fails, I would use this. There's a lot more differences too internally that I'm going to show you as well, but just from the actual overall outside appearance, you can tell by the amount of meat and the amount of material they've put into it. This one and this one are superior, and then we start moving down the line to here and here. There is a huge difference between this one and this one. Pins, plug, strength, threads, precision, accuracy, pickability, all that. So there's a huge difference between these two and these two. And as far as pickability goes, the hardest one out of all of these, if you were going to hand pick this, or if you were going to pick this with the pick gun, I would probably say this one would probably be the harder one. This one would be next because it's got the extra 6 pin, and then you move on to the carbine. But all of these are completely industry standard, quite fine. I would have any of these on my door, the Lockwood, the carbine, or Lockton. I necessarily wouldn't have the Bird. Okay, before we give it the Bird, let's have a look and see what's in there. So we're going to look at the circlip now, just pop that off. The tailpiece is okay. I mean, it is what it is. It's got some markings on where some of the other ones don't. But on saying that, when you're fitting it to the door, a lot of these markings are only a reference, and a lot of time you'll be cutting in between. Got some sort of magnetism going on there. Alright, let's pop off the circlip on the back. Here it comes. There it goes. Alright, so that was all quite normal. If we were to do that to the Lockwood one, let's just do that for reference. Okay, out comes the tailpiece. Slightly better material they've made the tailpiece out of. Okay. I couldn't find any bigger, longer screwdrivers, so you have to bear with me here. I'm using a little tiny stubby one. Alright, so just looking at the circlips, they're both okay. Lockwood one's better. This other one's a little bit cheaper. Looks like it's even going to snap in the middle when you bend it back and forth a few times. So, yeah, average. Looking at the carbine one. Carbine one is very, very similar to the Lockwood one. In actual fact, the specs are not much. And where is the Lockton one? Here's the Lockton one. Okay, so first thing you notice is that carbine has one little nipple on the side. Lockton has one little nipple on the side, Lockwood has one little nipple, and the Bird has 2 little nipples. So when you are to open up the Bird, you're going to basically be bending right at this point in the middle, as where when you're opening up the Lockwood, you're going to kind of be bending the whole circlip and the Lockton and the Carbine. So for longevity, you'd probably say these three were better. Let's look at thickness just on the back of this here. 0. Okay, let's go for Lockwood. We're at 1 mil. Lockton, 1 mil. Carbine, 1 mil. Bird, 0.5 mil. Okay, first little bit of significant difference. Let's pull apart the Lockwood now and go for reference, because we can use our follower. Okay, so you've got 5 standard pins, you've got a full brass cylinder cut out nicely. The shear line is perfect, the pins are right up at the shear line, there's no knurling, there's no low ditches or anything like that. Everything is as it should be. Okay, let's pop him there. Alright, now, I don't have a key for the bird, so let's just pick it. Yeah, almost, there we go. I charge per click, by the way, just like those other locksmiths do that charge no service call. It's $125 per click. And don't laugh, there are people out there charging $130 a click. No service call, they'll charge $130 a click. Alright, so we're looking at the actual plug itself. Quite surprising, actually, because a lot of the time what they do is they machine off the sides here to save on material. This one is a full plug. I mean, it's not the best of material. You'll probably find it'll be snappable a lot easier than the solid brass one, but it is fair. There's not a lot of knurling, which surprises me again, because a lot of the time they knurl the top of the chambers. And what I mean by that is they get like a drill bit like this, and they grind on, well, they basically chamfer the top, so it's like a funnel shape, if you could say, on the top, which allow the top pins to align and basically the keys to work when there's a lot of tolerance. So real sloppy keys, real sloppy cylinder, they get it to work by churning it out. So I'm quite surprised with this one. It's not actually looking too bad. It's the Yale YA1E Silca keyway. Alright, so now let's look at the rest of the housing. The threads are there, everything's there. You can tell it'll be very brittle brass, and it wouldn't take much to stick a drill through this one. As far as putting a drill through it, yeah, you can drill all of these cylinders, but it's about the amount of resistance. These ones would probably offer the least resistance, and rightfully so, because they're a product made for a particular market. They're not high security. They're basically a cheap 201 cylinder. Looking at the springs. Alright, so the springs pass too, the top springs pass. You know what? I thought I'd do this video because I thought I was picking up an absolute piece of shit cylinder that, you know, we could see a lot of clear differences in. And to be honest with you, I guess they might have improved their tactics a little bit, because the plug is better, this part here is better, the tolerances are better, the top springs and all that, they seem to be okay. I can only call it as I call it. Alright, so now looking at the Lockwood, you've got a spool pin on top and you've got a spring very much the same. The quality of the spring will be better than what you're going to see on the cheaper locks. So you've got five springs to 5 top pins, same in each. Looking at the Lockton now, no spool pin, and we have a spring, a slightly larger spring, more coils, a good size spring which can handle multiple keys, different keys, and long-term use. They all can sort of handle long-term use as long as you're not thrashing them the wrong way or abusing the cylinder. Let's have a look at the Carbine now. Alright, we're running out of room, so let's do a double follower here. You'll see this in a lot of locksmith shops, so use one follower and go the other way. Alright, so the pins up to the shear line perfectly. The brass, good quality brass. No knurling along the top, so the tolerances are tight. Completely flush, so you're going to get a nice key turning. Machining, perfect. 5 pins in a row, moving in and out freely, perfectly. That's the other thing with some of these cheaper brands, that when you move a key in and out, often you can have the pins not sliding up and down in their chambers. See these chambers here? You can have them where they're not sliding too well. Yeah, wrong key blank. Okay, so we're happy with that. Let's check out the top pins in the Carbine and see if there's much difference. Alright, so we got ourselves a top pin and we got ourselves a spring. Good quality spring, plenty of turns. What do they call that? Terminate at the top and the bottom, where it's just basically coil upon coil, giving the spring a nice seat. And length is a little bit smaller than the Lockton, about the same as the Lockwood, a little bit bigger than the Bird. So quite fine. I would happily use this carbine Lockwood in my property, or sell it to one of my customers. Right, just putting that back together now, and we're back, we're good. Alright, as far as tail pieces, look, there is a difference on the overall length of these tail pieces, but not much. Not much at all. The only reason Lockwood has a smaller tail piece is because it's a previously used cylinder. Looking over all three, there's not a lot of difference. There's only really difference as far as the actual product and the quality of the product. So I would be saying happily Lockton, Carbine, Lockwood, no problems, all good quality, not in that order. If I had to give one of these a higher score, I think I would be, well, as far as pickability, I would be leaning towards Lockwood, giving it the higher score. Next I'd move on to probably the Carbine or the Lockton. They're pretty much neck to neck, they're the same. If the Lockton was to come out with spool pins and the Carbine was to come out with spool pins, I would more than likely place them above the Lockwood, just because their build quality, the amount of meat they've used in the cylinder, which also gives better drill resistancy when you've got a much stronger, thicker cylinder. So that's why I'd be leaning towards these ones. As for the bird, yeah, I'd put that down the bottom. As for a cylinder that's usable, look, I can't really fault it. It is usable, and it comes in at a price for a particular market. Although it's not the highest made, it's not the highest tolerance, it's going to do what you want it to do for 10, 15 years. So that's why it can be compared and be in the range. The Lockwood normally doesn't have coloured pins. None of these do by standard, which is another feature which is also improves security, so that you can't look down the barrel and decode your pins via the look. So you can't put that in the equation as well. So much of a muchness. Whichever cylinder you pick, I'm sure it's going to work for you. The only difference in pins here is these are all 5 pins except for the Lockton, which is 6 pin, but it can quite easily be converted down to a 5 pin by just simply dropping that last chamber out. So you could use that in a 5 pin setup where your keying lock's like. You could quite easily use a 6 pin. In actual fact, it's probably better to carry 6 pins, because if you ever get a 6 pin premises that you have to match to a 6 pin, you've got the cylinder to do it. As where if you only carry 5 pins, if you need to key up a 6 pin, you're not going to be able to do that. Anyway, leave your comment down below which cylinder you prefer. Do you prefer the Carbine, Lockton, or the Lockwood, genuine Lockwood, or the Bird, or maybe even some of the other cylinders we haven't spoken about, like Brava or a few of the other ones, Viro, a few of those ones. Leave your comments down below, and thanks for watching.